Hello, welcome everyone. We do have a few announcements before we get started, but yeah, it's going to be a fun episode here with AJ. He is part of the community as well, so if you hadn't seen him, this is that same AJ in the community, so the cool guy that I talk a lot of trash to. But cool dude. And yeah, he's been doing this a while. I think he might have been in cybersecurity maybe a little bit longer than I have. All right, there we go. 7 o'clock. All right, so yeah, tonight is a guest episode. We have AJ Anthony here to talk to us all about detections today. I don't actually know all what he has in store, but I'm sure it's going to be something very cool. He's always getting into something for sure. But before we dive into that, kind of the layout of the day, I'm going to do a couple of announcements. AJ's going to do his thing, and then we're going to do a resume review at the end. The last 10 minutes, I have Leo from the community. Speaking of, if you're not a part of our community, make sure you join the community. I'll put the link in chat so you can join there. And as a member of the community, we will put you in order to review your resume. Yeah, you just pop in there and say, hey, Mike, can you review my resume? So we have someone lined up today. We have someone lined up for next week. One of our new members actually got popped into that lineup, so that's awesome. So we're looking forward to seeing it. But the community is great because it's a chance for you to ask questions, talk about things you're working on, most importantly, that path and that resume. So you have people like AJ and I to help give you feedback of what we think would help you kind of get some momentum and get your foot in the door in InfoSec. And then, of course, other members of the community, some other veterans in this space that can also tell you what they think, because no one has the right answer, but together we can figure something out and get you moving along. So a couple of call outs. I haven't done this before, but just want to call out our new members in the community. We got Zerobit, Silent Sorcerer, I like that name. Brandel, Joseph the Fox, Leo, Daniel, Summer, welcome to the community. That's all from this past week. I don't know if you knew we had that many coming in this week, AJ.
No, I didn't. It's great to see that.
Yeah. So 2 more items here. So I'm going to post another link in chat. So this is the application for the SOC the SOC Analyst, what were we calling it? Makeover. SOC Analyst Makeover. So all you got to do is put your application in there, and we'll pick out a lucky winner each month. And what I do is I bring you up on the show, on the live stream, and then we talk through kind of whatever your major hurdle is and help you overcome that. So not only do you get that episode, but I'll be following up on a regular basis to make sure you got everything straight. You need me to look at your resume again. You need whatever you need. I follow up and make sure you're good to go, because we want to help you break into the space, and sometimes you just need a little nudge, a different view. That's all. And the final announcement before I let AJ do his thing is a new video came out today. So this is the first super technical video in the Zero to SOC Analyst course, and it's all about basic KQL. So that's the Kibana query language. So yeah, really cool one. So if you haven't touched a sim, this is a really good one to use, and I'll be using it through the rest of the course. So expect 1 to 2 videos coming out a week for that course. All right. I don't know if you can see the chat. It's super jumpy. I don't know why. They did some kind of crazy update, so I'll do my best to read whatever comes through chat. But yeah, AJ, you want to give like maybe a 2-minute spiel about who you are, your background, what you're going to talk about today, and then dive right in?
Yeah. Before I do, is my camera freezing? It looks like it's freezing on my end.
It's not on my end. I see you. Nice,
Okay.
crispy, clear.
Cool.
Hopefully the audience can see you well.
Yeah, it might be my containers. Yeah, so as Mike said, I'm AJ. Met Mike while working in our last place together on the Purple team. And before that, I was in the Air Force, so I helped stand up a hunt team, worked on defensive counter cyber at the AFCERT, which is like the premier team, if you ask me and some other people. And that's where I really learned to like what I liked, right? Like I like hunting, I like breaking things, I like finding issues with things. And so that all stemmed from doing that in the Air Force and then transitioning over to a large corporation. And now I get to train AI models to do detection engineering. And so it's a combination of hands-on detection engineering myself, as well as primarily teaching it, making sure that the prompts are working as we expect, and that the output that we're providing to our customers is accurate and complete.
Awesome. So like I said, a really cool guy in summary. You are freezing just a bit, and it could be your container. I had some wicked issues last week. Whenever I clicked into my VM, I mean, I did have 3 VMs running, but I don't know if it's Riverside's new update is just screwing around with the feed. Not sure what's going on, but that'll be all right. You came in nice and clear, which is the important part.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna pause at least one container and see if that helps.
Cool. So what are you going to show us today? What's on the list?
Yeah, I am not as prepared as I probably should be. Shocker, I know. Yeah, so today we're going to talk about detection engineering, and like your main focus, your main community and our main community is breaking into the SOC, right? And so what does the SOC analyst do? They triage and work alerts. And so where do those alerts come from? They come from logic that is written by detection engineers most of the time. Sometimes it can be a little black box and baked into your SIEM or your security incident event management platform. And so that is what actually identifies, hey, here's the signal. This matches what I'm looking for. So I'm going to trigger an alert. And then that alert is what, again, gets worked by the analyst. So that piece, it directly correlates to how much work your SOC analysts, your incident response, and even your hunt teams are doing. Because if you don't have good detections, then maybe your hunt team is working overtime, right? So what that actually means is I have to know how logs should be coming in, right? So do we have logs actually being collected? Are they being parsed correctly? A lot of times we'll find that a parsing change has occurred, or maybe a vendor product has changed a field name or something. And so a lot of times these simple things will break a detection, and you really don't know because a lot of companies don't actually test on a regular basis their detections. And so at the last employer that I had, that was actually my whole job, was running alert testing and validation. We will not mention them. And so it's like Voldemort. So you have to know, like, it's being logged, it's being parsed correctly. You have to know the capabilities of your SIEM, right? So can I run functions? Can I write the query to be more efficient? Because when you're doing this and you work in an enterprise, and even to some extent, like a smaller organization, depending on your compute power or your storage, you're going to run into issues where the actual like processing will become the bottleneck. And so if you run into that, you need to make sure, to prevent that, you need to make sure that you're writing queries efficiently, right? So like filter at the top line, make sure that you're using the appropriate function and you're not just tossing a bunch of things into a detection so you can say that like you used it. Another thing to monitor that we kind of looked at a little bit at the last place is like how much does it cost for each detection? So a lot of times you'll have detections that you probably will never see trigger. Maybe they're written so they'll never trigger. Did my boxes die? No.
You did freeze a second. I was like, oh.
Okay. My screen went black. Yeah, we're doing some technical troubleshooting over here. So sometimes like you'll have detections that you're told to have, especially if you're in a highly regulated industry. So maybe someone else got attacked and your intel team or your leadership is like, hey, we need to have this as a detection regardless of whether or not this really applies to us. And so you just have that and you have to maintain it, right? Even though it'll never trigger. So looking at the cost of those things can kind of tell you, like, is it worth really keeping up the storage for this? Yes or no? That's a lot of blabbing. So I think we'll pause there, see if there's any questions from the chat. If you have any questions.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good segue to say, AJ's here. He knows a lot about detection. Detections are a huge part of what you do as a SOC analyst, whether you're tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, whatever. If you're in the SOC, your life revolves around the stuff that AJ does, right? And people like AJ, right? So great place to ask those questions you've always wondered about, which is one of the reasons I wanted him on here to talk about that, right? It's because people a lot of times don't understand what goes into all those things that they work all day long. There's a lot of nuances to it. Everywhere does it slightly different too. So really great opportunity for this, and which is why I started bringing on guests like AJ is to answer these questions that you folks have, like what is it like in the real world? What is InfoSec? And if you've never been in that field, you don't know. There's a lot you don't know. There's a lot that doesn't come through courses and books and whatever. So that's what it's here for. Can you touch on a couple of things like?
Yep.
A lot of people talk about fatigue, alert fatigue. Can you talk a lot about that and how good processes, good detection engineering can help with that problem in a company?
Yeah, so alert fatigue is basically when your analysts are constantly being bombarded by threats and in alerts, right? And so that is on fault by the detection engineers most of the time. Now, again, sometimes you'll have detections that you have to have. They might be dumb, but we all have bosses, and those bosses have ideas, and so that just might be the situation at the time. But basically, and then you can have another side of alert fatigue, I would say, which I definitely experienced, which is where sometimes analysts will continue to write the same type of alert because they're good at it. And so, especially if you're in a quantity-driven environment, so like you have a quota, for instance, that you have to hit, then they'll just continue to write those easy tasks because they know them. It's very repetitive, and then that can also lead to burnout. So think of alert fatigue as basically burnout by doing your job because you're working alerts over and over. And typically, I mean, this might offend some people, but I view the SOC as a step. I would never want to be in the SOC like long term. Maybe leadership, but definitely not as an analyst, right? Like I think it's more of a place where you cut your teeth, you learn your different skill sets, you learn how to pivot, you learn how to hunt, maybe you do some incident response, maybe some forensics, whatever it is. I view the SOC as really like that point of kind of seeing what part of cybersecurity you actually like and enjoy, and then you pivot to another team, another capability, or like specific role. Yeah, does that answer your question, Mike?
Yeah, that answers my question. I'm gonna do a sound check real quick just to make sure everything's working on YouTube because it likes to randomly freaking break on me.
Nice.
So I'm gonna look it up real quick and we'll get to going.
This chat thing is awful.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It just started acting freaky. I need to put in a ticket for it. Oh, we sound good. Perfect. Actually, for a change, everything works. Yeah, that answers the question. I agree. I don't think it is a place long term. I think you would drive yourself nuts if you sat there working detections for 20 years or however long you were working. Typically, people are in there like a year, maybe 2 years. Like you said, there's a lot of information for you to soak up, so it's a really good place to be if you're trying to learn a lot as fast as possible. And a lot of times in a lot of organizations, it is a feeder job where all these other teams kind of grab people out of the SOC to fill openings. So hunt, even detection engineering, purple team, I'm trying to think of what other, forensics, IR, all those things, they'll typically pull out of that role. So it's a really good place to start. Some of the other things, I was going to ask you, so what's some stuff that could break detections and cause them to just go berserk?
Yeah, so I mentioned a few earlier, like parsing. So sometimes your parsers just break or whatever. It's not uncommon to find a subset of devices that run through a parser to just all of a sudden have like different formatting and logs. So that's a big one. The vendor changing a field name, or maybe they change a value. So maybe you have like a specific value that you're keying off of, and then they change that when they update their product, but you don't know that because who's reading that documentation. So that's another one. if you think about it, like in general, your environment is constantly shifting and you're adding new products, taking products away. So a lot of organizations actually miss that their detections are broken because they're not looking at them. And, again, you're writing detections. Some of them, you're not expecting them to trigger. So you're not really expecting to be missing a trigger or missing activity that you think you have coverage for. So you don't check, right? It's kind of like, um, the saying that like ignorance is bliss. So if I don't have a bunch of detections bombarding my SOC, I'm good, right? Like my analysts aren't worrying. I'm good to go. So I think those are the main things. I'm sure there's more, but that's yeah. Do you think there's anything that I missed there?
Yeah, I'll add something there. I see from Rip, just to point this out, Rip's asking about lateral movement. We'll talk about that when we dive in, where he's going to talk about detections and build stuff. Yeah, it is important to communicate with SOC analysts. Some of the other things that might break detections as well. You touched on this somewhat, where just the baseline in the environment changes, something gets introduced, and so when the detection was written, there's a bunch of things that were expected.
Hmm.
And that's how they designed it. And so once something shifts, it could break a lot. So companies like MSSPs and MSPs who do detections, who do like SOC as a service work, this is one of those things that you run into a lot because you're writing detections for a lot more organizations, and it's a lot harder to scale it across all these disparate environments. So when you do that type of role, you'll see it a lot more as well. Um, yeah, you want to dive into your mysterious demo, sir?
We'll see if it plays, right? The Erebus is what I had to take down.
Yeah, and to talk about your comment there, Rip, I think AJ, and I'll speak for him on this because I like to speak for AJ, and then he'll tell me I'm wrong. But yeah, I think we're both believers in communication in an environment. Because he mentioned is like that's why you communicate to your analysts. Absolutely, all the teams should always be talking and communicating. When I ran a SOC, I made sure our intel guys, our threat intel guys, were talking to all the different pieces. Our detection engineers were talking about the new tools they had, the new detections they were rolling out. Our SOC analysts would work with engineers if something was busted. But the only way to keep that machine that is the SOC running is to have everyone talking. If you don't have that type of communication, your SOC is busted. It is in a and it will get into a bad state really, really quick. And that's why it's important to have leaders that cultivate that environment and force people to talk and nip that whole team infighting crap in the bud. Otherwise, you'll have a mess on your hands.
Yeah, and occasionally you will have conflict between SOC and detection engineers. It's just kind of the nature of the beast when you have one team driving the other team's input. And so that is not uncommon. So, like Mike said, it's good to have a healthy relationship with them, be able to address those concerns. Also, have data if you're going to do that. Like, if you just come to me and you're like, this real shit, then I have nothing to go off of. It probably is. Like, I'll probably agree with you, but I need to know why. So, come with metrics. And if it's, if it's something, again, that's out of my hands, then sucks to suck, but there's nothing I can do. So we can try this.
Okay.
Now, full disclosure, before we go through this demo, again, might not be as prepared as I should be. I tried
That's
to have
okay,
this
you're working, man.
building in the background. Yeah, I just got off before this. We'll share. Do you see Splunk?
Yep, I see it. Let me adjust.
Cool. Yeah, it's
that should be
not.
fine.
I don't have my window like maxed, so it should be a little bit better.
It looks pretty good on my end. Maybe with the smaller screens might have some issues with it. I was trying to modify my layout, but they've removed a lot of layout options. Like I would love to have both of our faces down here. Talk and see if it brings you up.
Yeah, all I see is my nose right now. This is great.
Oh, perfect. There you go. So I'm gonna leave it like this, and what it'll do is switch between us as we talk, and it'll bring the person that's talking up, which is fine.
Okay.
I just want to give your screen more real estate so that people can see what's going on.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you a photo of what I see because this is awful. Okay, so what's his name? Asphalt, I think.
Yeah, rip asphalt.
Yeah, so you would ask what a SIM is. So Splunk is an example of a SIM. Again, that's a security incident event management platform. So there's multiple SIMs, and this is where it becomes really important that you learn capabilities and not the tool. So what I mean by that is, like, Splunk uses SPL. Elastic can use EQL, Elastic Query Language, or Kibana Query Language. SPL, I believe, is Splunk language. And then you have Databricks, which is SQL, but it's not real SQL. It's a different flavor of SQL. So each of these SIMs may have a different language that they work off of. For instance, CrowdStrike used to be LogScale, and now it's Humio. And so you need to learn how to write, in this case, detections more than you need to know, like, the intricacies of the tool, right? So you don't need to know how to deploy it. You don't need to know like anything crazy like that. Typically, depending on the size of the company, logging might be its own shop. It might be part of like the SOC. Maybe you have everything all in one because you're a smaller enterprise. So that'll just vary on where you're at. So inside of Splunk, they use indexes. So you can see here we're running an index equals splat. Splat, for those who don't know, is an asterisk. Bang is a exclamation point. TAC is a dash. So if you hear me reference those, that's what it is. So right here we're looking at index equals splat. So anything, right? It's a wildcard. So I have shipped logs into here through my tool. Hopefully my logs are correct. And this should allow us to go through and kind of look at an attack. Let me see if I can pull up the timeline.
Yeah, and just to add on to what AJ was saying too, you'll hear a lot of veteran people in the space say, it doesn't really matter what language you're working in, they all work fundamentally the same. It's understanding what's happening under the hood in terms of what are you looking at in the logs. That's where the power is, understanding what you're actually seeing in the logs. If you can do that, learning the syntax in any tool is the easy part. They all work so similar, and especially now with chat, like 5 years ago we didn't have ChatGPT. Now you can be like, hey, how do I do this thing that I know in this other sim, in this new sim, and it'll walk you through it. So it's pretty easy to, it's the same with languages too. When you learn one programming language, it's pretty easy to pick up another one because they're fundamentally the same, unless it's some obscure language, that is.
Yes. So right now I'm just trying to find the sequence without showing everything in here, and then we can kind of walk through it.
Okay. Yeah, definitely don't be showing anything super sensitive.
I mean, it's all fake, right? So.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well then.
Yeah. This is from my tool.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, this looks good. Maybe.
Yeah, AJ and I both just randomly build whatever we need. Speaking of, I forgot to add on, we'll be also doing a raffle for a 30-minute session with me. So private one-on-one session, so we can talk through whatever you got going on that you need help with, and we can work on it in private. So we'll be doing that right before we do the resume. So stay tuned. In order to qualify, all you have to do is just be in the community and chatting away. The more you chat, the more, I guess, tickets that you have. That's how I built the tool anyways. So yeah, AJ's talking about a tool he wrote. Pretty cool. You've been working on it for like almost a year now, I think.
Yeah, recently expanded it a little bit, but I haven't been doing like main dev on it for a while. All right, so we'll just scroll down. I don't know where the end is. So basically, I took the Striker breach that occurred recently and injected that into Splunk using my breach and attack platform. So all of this is synthetic. You'll notice, like, if we look at host name, it should be Erebus1.
So right now, all we see is the searches, reports, and alerts page is
Oh,
what I'm seeing.
I did not realize I can only share a tab at a time. That is crazy. Okay.
Yep, we see it now.
Okay. So this is what a log looks like inside of Splunk. I don't have a real Splunk instance, so this is whatever you get on trial. I'm looking for...
Oh, just so you know, maybe this will be beneficial for you. Sean, when he popped on here, he showed us where you could pull down a Docker image with Splunk, and it's already built. You just install the Docker,
Yeah,
so you don't have to go through all their BS trial stuff.
yeah, this is on Docker.
Oh, is it? Okay, so you did the same thing.
Yep. We're cool like that, man.
Y'all are cool.
Now what I don't
Late to the party.
see is... Okay, whatever.
So while he's looking through stuff, I'll point out a couple of things. So if you're used to KQL, Kibana, all the stuff's the same, right? We have the field names and then we have the values in the field. So it's the same, right? Same concept here. I think it's just easier to look at logs in Splunk. I don't know why. I'm a Splunk fan. Are you a Splunk or Elastic fan, AJ?
Ooh. So I haven't used Splunk since the Air Force until recently. Alternatively, I haven't used Elastic for a long time either. I prefer Databricks. I know you don't like Databricks.
I like doing some stuff in Databricks.
Splunk has a lot of functionality though.
Yeah.
Like all the different apps, all of the things that you can actually like cram in here is really cool. So I like that. That did not work, did it? Okay, sorry. I had another timeline query that I was trying to look at. Okay, so if you look at a log, we're looking at the, again, we're in Splunk. We're just looking at a log to see what it contains, right? So this one, let's see if I injected all my stuff. Okay, so we're looking at CrowdStrike and then script control scan telemetry. This is a pretty cool log because you can, in some of them, you can recover the actual script content. So even if it's like encoded or whatever, you can recover it from this log type in CrowdStrike. Mike and I did some cool stuff with that. In this one though, we see that the script content is pretty simple and it just contains who am I. So someone ran a script and it contains who am I. Again, let's see if I injected the right things. I don't see a script name. Nope. Cool. And then you have your computer name. So in this case, H1. I think that's host 1. I don't know. Usually my logs have way more content than this. This was a demo presentation.
Busted.
Well, I was trying to do it for the demo. Okay, here is LSAS. So this is a different log type, right? So in your SIEM, typically you have different indexes, and you might have like Azure AD, Windows Event Logs, Sysmon, OS Query, CrowdStrike, EDR, or Falcon, whatever, Proofpoint, TAP, right? Like you're gonna have these different things, and then typically you have even those split up with source types. And so if we look at this, give me the Windows ID, 4663. I actually don't know what that is. Is that real? 4663?
I don't know what that one is.
It's an audit log. It must be. Oh, it must be like something touched. Like a object has been accessed. I think that's what it is. No.
Yeah, it's a new one to me.
Is it? What is it?
It says an attempt was made to access an object. Yeah, I don't typically see those in environments very often.
I know more than Mike. All right. So
this is your area of expertise, sir.
So why is this important, right? Because we can see that something accessed LSS. So typically, nothing should be touching LSS except for, I don't know, user init or whatever the process is. Doesn't matter. So this would be anomalous because it could indicate that someone is trying to dump creds out of the LSS process, right? And we see that with LSS dump. So CMD Damn, these logs are not great. Okay, CMD should show that the target was LSAS, and then the object that was created is LSAS dump. So with the DMP extension, we know that LSAS was successfully dumped, or at least attempted, because that's what the dump thing is, the file extension. So anyways, these are logs. My job is not to look at logs all the time. It's to write detections. And to do that, I have to, like Mike said before, tell a story, right? Sometimes you just have a detection that looks at one thing, right? So maybe it is someone using a particular flag, or maybe it is an actual like technique that is used by threat actors. So do people use CMD to dump LSAS? Probably not. Everyone has EDR now. It's very noisy. It's likely to be blocked. Do people use CMD? Of course. So that's the difference. Is like you need to know, okay, this is normal in my environment. People use CMD. Maybe I don't know why you would, but or PowerShell. And then should people be dumping LSAS? The answer is no. So when you're writing a detection, you can have a few different types. Really wish I had slides, but you can have a threshold. So say that we're looking for this type of activity and we want to identify anytime there's more than 5, right? And so that would be an example of a threshold. So 5 or greater than 5, trigger. If it's less than 5, don't trigger. Now Splunk has like risk-based alerting and stuff like that. I'm not super familiar with that. But the general concept is same to a notable. So like you're going to write a detection that is going to generate a signal, if you will, and that signal doesn't necessarily get sent to the SOC to be investigated. It's just there so that we can correlate off of that for other activity. So maybe I look for someone using RDP to log into a Windows server, and they are also, I see that there was a failed auth for them 30 minutes before, and then a successful auth in that same time window, right? So there could be compromised credentials. And so you would take those two signals, the failed auth and the successful auth, and then the RDP session immediately following that, you would tie those together into one alert, and that would get sent to the SOC to investigate. So you can have these building blocks, notables, I think Elastic calls them something else, and you can take those and basically create these higher signals that something malicious is occurring, rather than just having a one-to-one.
Building blocks in Elastic.
Okay. But you can have those rather than having a one-to-one where you just see, oh, someone failed to log in, and then they successfully logged in, and that's all your analyst sees. And then, oh, there's this other alert, but I'm not going to check what else has triggered for this particular person or this particular host because I haven't learned to do that yet. So I'm just going to work this one alert and then close it. And that's what Mike and I have seen pretty often, is where if you're a less mature SOC or analyst, typically you'll work the alert and close it rather than trying to understand the story. And Mike is very big on telling stories and really building out a timeline. So I'll let you talk about that real quick.
Yeah, while I talk about that, can you demonstrate maybe like a sample like query that you may translate into like an actual alert on something? You can use whatever, but just to show them an example.
Yeah, let's see. Man, I was trying to pass the buck and you're passing it right back.
No, I'm gonna give you a chance to prepare, and I'll talk about telling the story. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So a lot of more junior analysts, they do a really bad job. They just look at one thing. So they look at events in isolation. When chances are, if there's an adversary in your network, they would have had to do several steps, and those steps to do whatever the objective is are part of that story, right? You can't elevate privileges without first getting initial access. So things like that, right? So part of that story should be you talking about how did they get on the system, what did they do once they were in the system, did they get any persistence, did they do lateral movement, did they exfil anything? That is all part of the story. And people miss out on this, and the reason why typically after you get the basic SOC certifications down, so like Blue Team Level 1 or the SOC Path 1 down, I always suggest people do at least a junior pen testing course so you can better understand how attackers work, so that if you're doing an investigation, you can kind of get into their mind a little bit better and understand how they would have had to traverse the network and these hosts to do whatever they had to do. And that's my spiel. All right, we're back with AJ. Go ahead. We're so good at this thing.
Okay. So you asked for an example of detection. It doesn't look like this one actually triggered when I run it. But so again, we're in Splunk, right? So there's going to be some specifics to Splunk. Typically, regardless, you're going to specify your index, your table, whatever it's called. So we have sysmon logs here. Then your source type. So in this, we're looking at Erebus, sysmon. Erebus is my breach and attack platform that I built. Sysmon is obviously system monitor from sysinternals. Event ID 1 is a process create. So we're looking for the image rundeal32.exe being created. And we're looking at the command line of com services, with mini dump or hash 24. I think what's that called? It's the like the function calling. What's that called, Mike?
I have no idea what you're like ordinal numbers or what?
Yeah, that. So we're looking for com services touching rundeal32, running the command line of com services DLL with either mini dump or the ordinal number 24, which probably points to mini dump. Then we're going to do stats. So we're going to, stats is a function in Splunk. We're going to count by the minimum time, so the lowest time as first time, and then the maximum time as last time. So we're time bucketing here. That's the purpose of this. Then we're going to group it by computer, user, image, command line, and parent image. So these are the things that when Claude wrote this detection, it decided would be important for the analyst to review. So again, I ran it in another search head and it didn't return anything, unfortunately. So, actually, let me change the presets to today.
So something to point out too, on a lot of SIMs, you're typically just having a search that you're running over and over. So if you could copy and paste this into like your search box and it will run. But there's just like additional options that you can do within like the alerts section. So in there, you could tell it how often to run it, whether to run it as a cron job. So we can see a lot of other options in here. So that's why we say like if you can understand the basics of searching, you can do a lot. You have a lot of power in that. And as you can see, this one isn't overly complicated. A lot of them aren't crazy complicated either.
Yeah, another thing, when it comes to detections, I think a lot of people skip out on this, and it makes it difficult for everyone else reading it, is the name, the description, and the actual query. So if your name and description don't match the query, then someone just looking pretty quickly at the alert might not think that, oh, this is what this actually does. So that is one of my pet peeves. Again, this was my whole role at the last employer, was fixing detections. And so it's really important because you don't know if someone's going to just see the alert name or if they're actually going to understand this query that is put here. So maybe you have a new hire, right? And they're not super familiar with Splunk or whatever SIM platform that you're in. And so by providing a description here, and we'll see if this one's actually pretty good. So it says LSS dump rundeal32 invoking com services DLL mini dump or ordinal number 24. Look at that. I could have expanded my own description against LSS. And so
it's okay. You don't need ChatGPT. You have me. You have Mike.
Yeah, Claude. We don't use ChatGPT right
now. Oh,
here.
sorry, Claude. My bad.
Yeah. So Mike, with this description, do you think? And we even have the MITRE ID.
I think this is a horrible description, but that's me.
What? Okay. So why?
So for sure. So you started going down the route of talking about new analysts. So a lot of times, like newer analysts don't have as good of an understanding of the different types of attacks. So I like to ensure there's enough information here that they can read this and say, okay, this is what I'm investigating when they look at the alert. So this is the premise of the alert. Maybe have a couple of references in there or something like that. And then they can use that to start their own research and start looking into it. I just like them to be a little bit more verbose so that they understanding the intent of the alert and the concept behind what they're actually, what you're detecting.
Okay, interesting. So I disagree on references, but I could see if you had something in here like the purpose is to detect credential dumping from LSAS or something to that effect.
I think I'm just a lot nicer to newer analysts than you.
Well, so no, like looking at like I'm in a bunch of customer organizations, right? Like not once have I seen a reference. You're lucky if you get this description. So I
Well,
think
some
that's
people use like playbooks for the reference.
right.
So
Not a description.
yeah. Well, some of them I think Elastic allows you to put additional information in there for people. But yeah, just more of an explanation is what I like to see because I've seen, like I've been through the whole, we got to build a QA/QC pipeline in a SOC, and it becomes so hard to do that well if people aren't kind of working off the same page. People are analyzing the alerts differently because they don't understand them.
Yes.
So that's why.
No, totally valid. And so, since you brought it up, you get to now explain to the lovely chat what a playbook is.
Yeah, so playbook is typically they don't do them for each alert, but they'll group them in types of alerts. So, like if you're looking at anything that has to do with like a process creation, maybe there's a certain way they would like for you to investigate those, and they're not meant to be diligently followed. Like you always have to do this, but it's a good starting point for how you do an investigation. And they're especially designed for newer analysts who don't have that breadth of knowledge that more experienced analysts have. And that way, basically, you can kind of live on your own for a little while without having to have a more experienced analyst hold your hand. You can be a little bit more independent because you got tools out there that help you do quality analysis is the idea.
Oh, shit, look at this. So this URL, which didn't know it was a URL because there's no...
I didn't either. That doesn't, I guess
Yeah.
it is. It's just a
So
weird
if you
one.
go to it, apparently Splunk has like their own little documentation for you.
Nice.
Now we wrote a different query, obviously, but it is nice that this exists for you, and it was updated very recently in May.
Yeah,
One
perfect.
thing to call out before we, so I do want to pivot, and this will probably be the last time I ever bring this up. MITRE attack.
AJ hates MITRE. Someone, a rep asked if these were referencing MITRE. They are, but he hates it with a passion.
Yeah, I did not apply to their conference because I didn't know what I could submit for them. Anyways, it's coming up October 27th. So MITRE is basically a way to just group detections and coverage, and it has become the de facto standard. And as Mike said, I am not a fan. I think it forces a lot of pushing into the existing techniques. There's now one for AI attacks, even though they already had, or they have Atlas, even though they already had AI. So there's several different things. There's one for mobile, one for enterprise, which is what we're looking at now. And if we actually come into here, we'll search, I forgot what the ID was.
So while you're searching stuff, why do you hate MITRE? What is it that you despise, or?
Oh yeah, because some people think heat maps are great, and I hate them. And then, like I said, it forces you to push your things into one bucket, and so I don't think it's as accurate. I personally prefer the kill chain. I think it makes more sense. It is by far not as extensive, but I think when it comes to telling a story, it makes more sense to me. So
you're allowed to have your own opinions on cyber. This is one of the ones that we diverge. I like MITRE. He likes the kill chain.
I don't know why you like MITRE.
Because it's so verbose. I think it's a really good common language to speak from.
Okay, but do you agree or disagree that you have to force things into specific buckets for it to fit into MITRE?
You would have to do that regardless. It's just a smaller bucket. With kill chain, the buckets are much bigger, but with this, they are a little bit smaller. And the idea is like you can have the same attack in multiple buckets. Like you could use something for privilege escalation, the same as persistence. So I just like the idea, like the heat maps are kind of funny. I will admit that, but having a way to group these, I think, is a really good idea to catalog. I think they do a fantastic job of cataloging. Like I just, sorry for this noisy car outside my house, but yeah, I just got introduced to Atlas, and I think that's a fantastic way as well. Kind of the same concept, and I'm sure to get more granular over time. What do you have? You like you want to say something? Say it.
Nope, we're moving on. Yeah, Mike may or may not have a sponsored video coming out soon. No, I'm just kidding.
I will have a sponsored one coming out soon, just not from these guys.
So, if we look at this ID here, and again, it is the standard. Everyone knows MITRE, whether it's good or bad. This is how leadership talks. The heat maps are just a way to show your coverage. It's also a way for vendors to lie to you, and so they'll say that they detect everything, and if they detect one thing or one procedure or sub-technique, whatever you want to call it nowadays, then they can mark it as covered, and so I also disagree with that sentiment. But I digress. Looking here at this ID, so we have the tactic of credential access. So there's a few tactics that kind of are the buckets. So recon, resource development, which you're probably never going to see. Initial access, execution, persistence, prevesc. Now they have a stealth. That's new to me. Defense impairment, credential access, discovery, lateral movement, collections, C2 or command and control, exfiltration, and impact. When did they add stealth?
Yeah, no. It had to be pretty recent.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyways,
because that used to be what. Is there like an evasion one? Where did evasion go?
Well, they have
defense impairment, maybe.
Yeah. Anyways, so credential access, right? That's kind of the bucket that this is in, because we are looking at OS credential dumping, and then the particular way that we're looking at is LSS memory. And so the good thing about MITRE is they list different ways that this has been observed in the wild. And so if you're looking at like Atomic Red Team or something like that, typically they'll line up with MITRE, I would say a lot of the times, like the techniques that they have. So you could do proc dump to create a dump of LSS. Here's Mimikatz commands to do that. Run DL32. And so this is the example that we're looking at. We're recalling comm services with mini dump, and then we're passing it the LSS PID, and then the output file is LSS dump. And then you can look at the different times that it's been observed, the threat actors, all that good stuff.
And that's one of my things I like about it too, is that they tie threat actors to it. I know we both dislike threat and tell people sometimes, but it is a good way to at least historically look to see who's been doing what.
Yeah, it's in the references, but it's not in the updated list. Cool. So
noobs do use. So a lot of the tools that Rip is talking about, like Mimikatz being oak, yeah, a lot of these things, like all those techniques he just showed you for dumping LSAS, they get caught now. Even Windows Defender catches all those. So typically you have to do like your own custom technique or a variation of the existing technique to be able to do it. We used to have a pretty good bypass for one of the major EDR vendors, and that doesn't even work anymore. So I think I need to go back and use some WinAPI variation of it. Cool. Is there any last things you want to show before we move over to doing the resume review?
Yeah. Don't cut me off.
Okay.
Man. This is my time. So this is the query from the alert that we saw earlier. So as Mike said, you can just run this in the search box. There is a new sim that I've learned, and it is very weird. Are you familiar with SecOps?
SecOps?
Google.
No, that's a sim?
Yeah, Google SecOps. So Chronicle, now SecOps. So what they do is they normalize everything into a single table. And so if you were going to query that, like instead of doing index equals sysmon logs, you would say metadata dot log equals sysmon logs. And so it's all normalized in UDM, but when you're running their things, you have to have a different search head for their rules than you do a regular search. So there's like a UDM search and there's a rule testing. And so it's different. And you can't put one or the other because it'll error out and it'll say like this is not supported. Yeah. So anyways, back to this. This is the result that the analyst would have seen at the time that the query ran and had picked up this activity. And so again, if you're writing detections, like you need to think about your SOC partners, your analyst partners. And so that's why we have computer, user image, command line, parent image. And so these are the fields that we're actually grabbing out in the result that we get sent to the SOC, right? And so the question becomes, is this enough for an analyst to start their investigation into whether or not this could be malicious? And so you might want more like information. This might be enough. But if you're writing detections, you need to make sure that you have whatever those required fields are going to be in those detections, or else you're just going to have a lot of people mad at you.
Yeah, I think that's a trap that a lot of detection engineers fall into, is that they don't surface enough information to do a good search, do good analysis, and it basically hamstrings or people, forcing them to do a lot of additional work to get to an answer and close it. So yeah, really good point there.
Cool. So again, there are many sims, many different languages. The important thing is to learn how to write the queries and think about it. Like I said, if you can think about, is this result going to be enough for me to take action on, yes or no? If it's not, it's likely not enough for your analysts. So fix that. Give them a pivot or whatever it might be. So that's typically called enrichment. And so if there's several things that you're looking at, like maybe you're going to do a join, and so you run this search, or in Splunk, I believe it's a sub search, where you're combining, like you're running two different searches and then you're combining them based off of a common field. Do that. That is something that will make people happy. It'll show that your team has a maturity level higher than others, and it'll keep everyone being able to complete the mission, which at the end of the day is to protect your customers or provide a service or whatever it might be, so that you can get paid. And with that, I believe we will transition to roasting some resumes.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thanks for sharing. Hopefully that was some good information for folks. If you've never seen detection engineering, it is a mysterious world, but it should also be pretty familiar to a lot of folks, at least who have used the sim before. So first thing first, let me bring up the cool little wheel that I created. Yep. Have you seen my wheel? Did you see my screen share?
Can you just say that word again?
Will?
Will? So like WILL?
Shut up. Stop picking on me, man. Stop picking on me. All right, maybe I'll change the name so you won't make fun of my speech impediment here.
Why am I not at this?
Because you don't want to talk. You talk to me anyways all day on one-on-one for at least 30 minutes, pretty much. So this, I pull all the messages in our Discord server. So everywhere, and each person, like each message gets you a point. And so basically a point is a ticket, and how it increases your odds, right? So you can see our KSJ, shout out to you, man. You have 83 messages you've done in the last week. So this is week to week. So the past 7 days. Henry is way up there too. Yeah, so we will spin this, and don't worry about them being clumped. I made sure the math is correct. So it actually does the correct math on this to make sure it is randomized based on the number of chances. So here we go. Let's spin the wheel. Look at it, actually works and everything. Cloud special. Henry, look at that. All right, so Henry, if you're not watching, I'll give reach out to you. We can have a chat at some point, and we'll get something scheduled. And stay tuned for next week, and we'll do another one next week. How about that? All right, cool. So let me share the next screen with the actual resume on it. Boom, boom, boom. All right, there we go. All right, so this is Leo. I think he was on our list of new people from this week. So welcome, Leo. Thanks for volunteering for the roast. AJ will be gentle, maybe. Don't worry, he's a jerk to me anyways. All right, so I'll let you go ahead and start off the roast here. Start with the summary. Let's see what we
Before
got.
we start, can you drop the link in chat again?
Which link?
Discord, so people can sign up to get their resume reviewed.
Good call out. There we go.
And this is why we're a good team.
This is why we're a good team.
Okay, so at the top, US professional summary, like that. Security Plus certified information systems graduate with hands-on blue and red team experience. Ooh, we're gonna dive into that. From live competition defense, self-directed penetration testing labs, and Windows Server / Active Directory administration. Don't really like how that flows. Skilled in log analysis, endpoint detection, attacker TTP analysis, with growing interest in applying AI and automation to security operations, seeking an entry-level SOC analyst or security analyst role. Okay, so let's look at the first sentence. You have Sec Plus, IS Systems graduate. Is that really what it's called? Is it not like Comp Sci or?
Information systems is one. Yeah,
Okay.
they're just different one. I think this might be what I have. Information systems administration is what my bachelor's is in.
Okay. For those of you who don't know, I don't have a 4-year degree. So
yeah, I was about to say, you would know in that group.
Hey man, I got 2 associates. Don't come at me.
You got your CISP too, most importantly.
Yeah.
Look out.
Okay, so information systems graduate with hands-on blue and red team experience. So that's going to be, when you say you have red team experience, that's going to be a thing that we're going to look at, right? Because typically red team is more advanced. You're evading the detections. You're evading from being caught. So I'm going to expect to see some OPSEC things, some malware def, like those types of things when you're going to list red team experience. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think this is what I hit on every time. If you put it in the summary, it's fair game. And as a hiring manager, I need to see evidence of these claims that you make in your summary somewhere in there. Otherwise, I'm going to think you're BSing.
Yep.
But I agree, like red team's a tough one to put in there if you don't have it. It would be more, I would put like offensive security, maybe something a little bit toned down, but understand people who are, I guess even experienced people, they like to throw red team around quite easily where it's interchangeable with pen testing. And they just use it as an opposite to blue team. And there are specialties, like blue team, there are a bunch of different roles. On the offensive side, red team is more advanced, more adversarial simulation versus pen testing, which is very kind of smash and grabby. You're not really trying to avoid detection. You're just trying to make it happen in like 40 hours.
And most of the time, or at least in my experience, most of the time I see pen tests, it's more web app. It's not even like, I don't know, like a smaller scale red team or anything like that. It's more like, hey, we have this app. I sit here, I fuzz it, I see if I can get IDORs or anything else out of it, kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know if I can say that I have seen the same, but I'm in more offensive space than you are. But
right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I agree. I don't like that last sentence, I will say, on this one. I think my idea of a professional summary, take it if you want it, is that this is your elevator pitch. This is how I talk about a summary. Your job is to captivate my attention to get me to read the rest of it, to actually care. So this whole thing should be about why I care, and so that last sentence doesn't really matter. I know you're applying for this role, like if it's a SOC analyst role, so we already know, it's assumed. So use that space to make a better argument.
Yep, totally agree.
Okay.
How do you feel about growing interest in applying AI and automation to SecOps?
I don't think that's necessarily bad. I would like to see projects around that later on in here, though.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious because like I think we've talked about this with other people before. Like I don't put anything on my resume that isn't not true, but I guess grounded. So like you saying you have an interest, like again, why do I care? Because really the role that you're applying to tells me that you're interested in what I have to offer, kind of thing. But yeah, I don't think it hurts. That's just kind of how I was thinking through this.
I think there's a better way to say it. I agree with that. Like these, I like to tell people when I use AI to help me write my summaries, because I write a custom summary for every role that I would put in for. And I would say, I want to knock their socks off. I want them to be able to envision me in this role I'm applying for. So I want to write a really, really strong summary. And I think you could say what you're saying a little bit better in order to make it a stronger pitch for yourself. Again, you want to make them be able to visualize you fulfilling that role that they have listed. So there's probably a little bit stronger wording that you can use to help with that.
Yeah. Cool. You ready for skills or more on this?
Keep chugging, my friend.
Cool.
And now he's quiet.
Oh, did you want me to read it all?
No, you're good. He's reading. I just like to fill the void. People.
No, I just meant for the
strong attention spans here.
I thought you were going to read it for the people who aren't.
Oh, you want me to read it? Okay. Security tools. We got some Wireshark. We got a couple of SIMs listed: Nmap, Sysmon, Metasploit, Hydra. Let's see. I'm gonna put out a couple of frameworks. These are probably these two are probably really good for keyword matching. So just to preface, skills are really just a shortcut for keyword matching stuff. So a lot of ATS systems, a lot of AI recruiters will look to make sure you have enough matching keywords to push you through to a human. So this is kind of a way to double down on stuff. Obviously, you have to have content to support all of these skills. So just keep that in mind there. But yeah, these are probably good there. These are just showing offensive stuff. They may not even matter for most SOC roles, I would say. Do you know what Tailscale is?
Yeah, it's a VPN.
Oh, okay.
It's a nice VPN.
You said it's a nice one?
Yeah, you basically connect two devices. So when I worked at the last vendor I worked at, I had Tailscale on my phone and on my server that they sent everyone. And so I could interact with my server at home through my phone through an RDP session essentially because it's a VPN.
So is it like a site-to-site kind of VPN, but on a smaller scale?
Yeah, it's device to device. So it's not like a
peer-to-peer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. I'll have to look that up. And then we got some different languages here to kind of fill in a lot of roles I've seen asked for programming. So this is a good way to show that. Yeah, what are your thoughts about the skills in here? Anything that stands out especially well to you?
I mean, the frameworks is weird to me. Especially when you say Active Directory hardening. I don't think that's a real framework. Same for incident triage.
Ah, fair.
Systems and infrastructure, Active Directory, and then you list ADDS, so that's directory services, and GPO. GPO is part of directory services, in my opinion. So is DHCP. So you're kind of double iterating on things. Windows 10, 11, Linux. Yeah, I think there's some small changes that you can make to tighten this up, but I'm curious to see how you tie your, because you can see at the top he said red team, and then he's listed a couple of offensive tools, so we'll see how he ties that in together in some of his projects. Yeah, certifications, you got Sec Plus and Google Cybersecurity certificate. I haven't seen Google. I don't know if that's good or not.
It's it's becoming more popular. They make it as like an introductory, so like a pre-Sec Plus is kind of how they frame it.
Mm.
It doesn't look too bad, the content, but the important thing is he has a Security Plus. One thing that I'd like to see in here is a hands-on certification.
And so, what would that be, like a BTL1, or like what are we talking about hands-on when we're talking about a entry-level role?
Yeah, so any of those, so Hack the Box has one, Try Hack Me has one, Blue Team Level 1 has one, I think Let's the Fin has one as well. Any of those will work, whatever you kind of gravitate to. I will say Blue Team Level 1 probably has a slight edge as being a little bit more recognized than the rest because it's been around longer. But any one of them will do. Even just getting like a SOC 1 or SOC 2 path on Try Hack Me will do really well. You just want to show, for me, I tell people, you want to show that you have those skills that you're for the role that you're applying to. So if you don't have any SOC skills listed, it's really hard to envision you in a SOC role. But if you show that, hey, I've already done SOC level 1 and Try Hack Me, I got all these challenges I've done related to it, okay, cool. That means you're probably going to do pretty well in the interview. My thoughts. How about you? What would you suggest someone looking to get a tier 1 SOC role? What would you like to see in certifications?
Yeah, no idea.
No idea.
I didn't know that like all of those platforms had one.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty new. Last couple of years, they've been really putting them out.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Let's Defend. If I was gonna get one, I would do. I don't remember which one's free. Try Hack Me or the other one. But I would
All
do
of them cost money, but Try Hack Me and Hack the Box, you can do the path for free. You just can't get the certification for free.
Well, isn't one of them? Don't you have to pay for the platform? Is it Try Hack Me that you have to pay for?
I think. Well, actually, you may be able to do the Hack the Box one for free. It's just like they do a slow rollout, weird thing a lot of people don't like. But yeah, they're all affordable though. I just want to point out they're like 12, maybe 15 bucks a month. So super cheap. Totally recommend it if you want to get hands-on stuff.
Yeah, and one of the big things, and like Mike has what 19 certifications or something around there.
Yeah, about to be 20. I got to take my exam this weekend.
Yeah, send me the test. Maybe I'll take it and see if I can pass it. And I have like a 1 that's active now, but I have like CISP, Sec Plus, DC, IH, GCD, and then some vendor certs. But it shows that you're dedicated. So again, I don't have a 4-year degree. I don't think it's great for everybody, but a lot of times people just look at it to see if you can do it, right? And so that's kind of the same for certifications. Some people will view it as like a vanity metric. Other people will view it as you have experience, and so that's why like I prefer to see hands-on. I think Mike, that's probably why you prefer to see hands-on as well, instead of just oh, you passed the test, right? Like it doesn't really show that you know what to do day to day or anything like that.
Yeah. To answer Rip's question, TCM, yeah, them as well. Sorry to forget those guys, but I like to see them because as a SOC manager when I was running the SOC, I don't know how many interviews I did, but at first we were looking at anybody with a Sec Plus basically, and with a degree. It was a requirement for the industry I worked in, and they all failed their interview. And I was like, all right, we're not wasting time with these people anymore. And I told HRs that I only want to see people with labs, and we had a lot better interviews at that point because it's just really hard to answer the questions we're asking if you don't have any awareness about the processes that you go through in a SIM, what types of information are logged. So if you haven't touched it, it's really hard to talk well with it. Not only that, but if I were to hire you and you didn't touch any of that stuff, it's going to take me probably a year to train you and where you can stand on your own. We don't have time in the world to spend that much time on somebody. I need to get you ready in 3 to 4 months. So you have already had to have had a good head start for me to spend time on you and for you to do well in the interview. So, and that's the mindset a lot of people go with in corporate America too. They're looking at you as an investment. and it's time. How much is it going to cost me to get this person on the floor and working? Because it's always a time trade-off, always. Not only that, but putting you on the floor, being super junior, you're going to eat up all my senior people's time, and now I can't have them work on projects that I need them to work on. So, it is a trade.
Yep.
Man, I just went in on that one. Way to get me going, man. All right, let's look at these projects. You get a reason this.
So first off, how do you feel about projects being above experience?
It depends on the experience. I haven't looked at it yet.
Okay.
If you don't have any directly applicable experience, I would put experience at the bottom in lieu of applicable projects.
Okay. So under projects, we have self-hosted Active Directory and Remote Access Lab, administered self-hosted Server 2022, domain and Linux VMs on VirtualBox, managing user provisioning and network segmentation, configured remote SSH via Tailscale, deployed local LLMs on WSL, so Windows, is it subsystem Linux or just sub Linux? What's the S?
I think, is it subsystem?
Whatever it is, with
Yeah.
CUDA. I don't know what CUDA is. On a Mac Mini, wait, why are you using WSL on a Mac Mini? Exploring applications of local AI inference for log analysis and security automation.
Yeah, that seems weird.
Yeah, that seems real weird. I guess maybe CUDA is the way you run Windows on Mac, but I don't know why you would have to do that. You're basically creating another. Let me look it up before.
You better sound real dumb, AJ.
Parallel computing platform and programming model created by NVIDIA. Yeah, so you are. You're spinning up.
Is used a lot for like password cracking. Like that's what you have to use.
You're spinning up a Windows device on a Mac Mini to spin up another subsystem, which is Linux, to run AI. That's an interesting choice for sure.
You're saying it's not optimized? Is that what you're saying then?
I don't know why you need to run Windows if you're just going to run Linux when you're on a Mac. Just run Linux if you have to, or is the Mac not enough Linux for you?
He's probably just following a guide and
yeah,
said do it on Windows.
Well, I'm gonna have questions about this person's thought processes here.
That's fair, and to be fair, this is a hiring manager may do the same. If they're technical, they might dive in like, what's the design choice here? Why?
Yeah. Citadel Blue Team competition. You defended a Server 2022 Active Directory environment and a live attack scenario, applying MITRE attack framework knowledge to identify and remediate adversary techniques. I do not like that sentence.
Because it has MITRE in it.
Yeah, I don't see how MITRE applies at all to this situation. Troubleshot Windows Defender configuration issues under time pressure to maintain endpoint protection during active scoring. Interesting. Pen test. Here you go, Mike. Executed a full attack chain against an isolated target. OSINT recon, Nmap service enumeration, Hydra credential brute forcing over SMB with a netcat reverse shell to study attacker TTPs from a detection perspective. Documented this kill chain end-to-end in a public GitHub write-up, analyzing chain misconfigurations and default credential risk. Where is the GitHub?
Yeah, I was going to have the same question. So maybe it was up top here. Yep, he's
got
it up here. Yep.
Cool. Yeah, so first off, looking at the AD lab, I mean, I would have a lot of questions, like, what did you learn? Also, as someone who has ran AD for an enterprise, it is a lot of, like, many things, as you listed, right? You have DS, DNS, DHCP. So I would have questions. I'd also be curious about why you chose to do that. And I also don't know what direction you want to go. You have Blue Team, you have this, it looks like you're doing CTFs, where you're doing defense. You set up a pen test lab at home. That may or may not be realistic. So those are my questions. This gave me more questions than I think I got answers out of.
Yeah, one of the things I would suggest here is whatever story you're telling, your labs and your project should be able to tell that story better. So if we're talking about a SOC analyst, I don't think at least 2 out of the 3 tell that story that of what a SOC analyst would actually do, right? We want to show off your capabilities as a SOC analyst. I think doing some of this offensive stuff, like this seems like really short, like you did just a one thing. You don't really talk about the blue side, even though you said you study attacker TTPs. What came out of it? But I guess we could look at the Git repo and see. But these other ones, you wouldn't do any of that in the SOC, and as a SOC manager, I wouldn't really care. I do like seeing that you did an East Citadel blue team competition. I mean, you could even just do that and put that on there and just talk about what the competition is. That would be fun. I think that would actually do better for you than talking about troubleshooting defender configurations. You don't do that in the SOC. You don't do anything with like GPO, any of that kind of stuff as a SOC analyst. So yeah, I mean, I would orient this more towards things you would do as an analyst is all. And that's probably one of the biggest critiques I have with a lot of these resumes is that the projects aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? They're supposed to be showing that you're building the skill sets that you need as a SOC analyst until you get experience, right? In lieu of experience, I have projects and I have certifications. But these projects aren't clearly articulating that you have those skills of a SOC analyst. So that is my big critique here. You need to overhaul your projects and orient them more towards what an analyst would be doing.
Yeah, I would also say like that top bullet about the AD lab, that could just be one prompt. Like it could literally just be Docker compose Docker file up. Like that doesn't show me anything. Hopefully you would be able to talk through like what you know about Active Directory, how you might pivot for like I don't know, if you see like domain administrators, right? Like what does that actually mean in this context that we give you? Those types of things. But yeah, like Mike said, I would frame this, and you probably have better things that you can present here. You just don't know what actually is applicable or like how to word it. So we can help you with that for sure. We've done that with others, where you just don't know what people are looking for, and so after we give you this feedback, like definitely hit us up and we'll go through what you have and help you reformat it.
Yeah, we'll follow back up in the community with you. So no worries. And exactly what you said, a lot of times after we give this feedback, they rewrite it and it's like, oh yeah, that sounds a lot better. Like we have, I forgot who it was.
Unless your name's Kevin.
Unless your name's Kevin, yeah. Oh yeah, Kevin was what I was talking about. Okay, cool. So let's look at this experience here. So we have technology consultant, triage and resolve Windows 11, blah, 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 account issues. Ticket volume, maintain incident documentation, not applicable, really. I mean, it shows some technology stuff. And there, even though I don't care about this stuff, I'm just pointing this out, I don't care that you've done any type of IT repair, any of that. I don't care as a SOC manager. I don't personally. But there are some that do. So it's not a bad thing to have some of that in here. Some people actually do really care about it. There's been some people that push back on LinkedIn, like, I love that stuff. I like to see it. Who cares about TCM? Or not TCM, try hack me or whatever. Like, okay, whatever, dude. Everyone has their own opinions. I would rather see you actually doing the work and building the skills that I need you to do on the job versus all this other crap that doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
I think for here, though, it makes sense because, like, they obviously don't have a ton of experience. So, like, listing what they do have to show that they're technical makes sense to me than having nothing under experience and only having projects.
Oh, for sure. And also put this out there because Kevin, I think it was Kevin that had the same issue where he actually did a lot of stuff that was security related, and we pointed it out that if he has stronger stuff put in here, he did, and his resume looked amazing after. I think it was Kevin. I've looked at so many resumes now, I start getting them mixed up. That so if you do have more security related stuff to go in here, definitely put it in there. But this stuff is good to have in there anyways in the meantime. Intern, dev intern, cool. How do you feel about the dev one? Like, cool, okay.
Sure.
I would tell you the analysts with programming backgrounds are generally pretty good on the team as long as we can get them to learn like the SOC stuff. They end up being the ones who become builders in the SOC. So I do love people with programming backgrounds generally.
Yeah, I would say, so this is a great example. This last bullet under software intern, you say that you cut repetitive analysis work by 25%, but you don't say how. You don't say what that freed up or like, across X number of analysts or anything like that. So this bullet really like just doesn't hit the way it could if you had some more details here.
Yeah, good point. Good point. If it's on your resume, it needs to be strong and it needs to have a purpose. So make sure you only have limited space. So like 1 to 2 pages. Tell that story. Use it wisely. So we have some leadership stuff. That seems like something from like school, where people like when you're applying to college, they like to see leadership stuff. It's not bad. Not necessarily. I wouldn't say I would care as a SOC manager that you had that. I'm just looking for someone who can do the job decently, which is analyze stuff. So I wouldn't care how much of a leader you are. But some people on the other side of that, some people like to identify people for leadership positions early on. And this may, like if they have not a lot of strong leaders in their analyst pool, they may be looking for someone with a little bit more leadership focus to raise up and train for like a shift lead role or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Thoughts about the leadership piece? That's a new one. I actually haven't seen this on a resume yet.
I think you've got the white space, so I don't hate it. It is like it obviously doesn't apply to this role per se, but I don't hate it compared to you having a quarter of your page blank. At least I'm learning more about you as a person, right?
Yep. And it's okay to show a little bit of personality, a little bit of other stuff in here as well.
Yep.
It's good. You don't want to be just another number. For sure.
Now, I would say when it comes to education, you should remove your GPA.
Is it too low?
It introduces, I mean, you could say the same for his leadership bullets because you see Korean and then Taiwanese and Hong Kong. So it introduces the ability for someone to impact you with their bias. So someone could say a 3.4. Well, you're not a 3.7. We only hire like top of the line students or whatever. So just note, like, people are people, right? Like, some people are good, some people are bad. You're allowing them to impart their judgment, whether it's right or wrong, against you, strictly for what you have on this piece of paper.
Yep. Bias is a real thing. Folks who are a little bit older trying to break in, you're going to have some of that as well. It happens, unfortunately. But yeah, if you can remove bias, do it. I mean, I agree. That's a really good point. Someone hadn't brought that up yet. So you're getting some good stuff from AJ here tonight. Even though he's on here later than I wanted him to be on, because I know he has stuff to do. But that's okay. I appreciate you, man. I do want to point out, because you mentioned it, the layout is fantastic. I think you have enough white space. I don't think it looks overly cluttered. I typically don't comment it on too much because I care more about the content. But yeah, something just as simple as this is fine. You don't have to have anything crazy. Some people try to add a bunch of crazy stuff to it. The simpler, the better. It's going to help with ATS systems and all of that. Cool. Would you interview this person for a SOC role?
Sure. I mean, it really depends on like the organization's requirements, right? If I'm at our last place, for example, probably not. Yeah, I don't know.
You got a thumbs down from AJ. Oof.
No, not a thumbs down. Like, I might give you a call, but you're not high on my list.
Okay. So Well, the good thing is you got a lot of feedback from him of how you could get up higher on his list. I would say you would not be someone that I would call either, just simply because I don't see enough SOC focused work on here. And again, I'm not talking about experience. I'm talking about lab time. I'm talking about doing my try hack me or anything like that to build up your skills. That's what I'm looking for. I want you to have already put in time, put in some reps. Again, so it's less work for me and my team to get you self-sufficient. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, that's enough beating up on this person. Yeah, I'll make sure you watch this, Leo, and I'll reach out in a couple of days to see if you have any questions about it in the community. But we definitely appreciate you. Hopefully, we weren't too tough on you. We do hope, wish you the best, and yeah, we will keep checking you along to make sure you get what you need to be successful. All right, with that. I will say that is the end. We got a winner for our raffle. We've done a review. We've had AJ. That's like Parisian or something. I don't know. AJ. We've had AJ hop on here and talk about some detection engineering. So it's a really good episode. I appreciate you as always. Thanks for taking time. I know you didn't have enough space to eat before you got on here, probably, it sounds like. But thank you as always, man.
Yep, thanks for having me. And like Mike said, be sure to follow up with us if you make edits and stuff so we can help guide you the right way. And maybe in the future, we'll have a detection engineering course to follow Mike's SOC course.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, you didn't even plug your course, man.
Oh, I did. I mentioned it twice.
Well, this is the end. Mention it again.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, so we have a SOC course we're putting out, so 0 to SOC Analyst, free course, 1 or 2 episodes a week to get you job ready. So the idea is to bridge the gap between these certifications like the Sec Plus and what you're actually going to do on the job so that you can put it on here, you can talk to the things that would make you a great addition to a team. So I don't have my link handy for that, but yep, check it out. I'll put it in the show notes to this video if you're watching it later. All right, with that, any other last words before you hop off?
Nope, thanks for having me, man.
All right, well, that's it. That's the show. We'll see you next week where we are doing some hands-on stuff, I think. So some hands-on stuff, and then 2 weeks from now, we'll be doing the SOC Analyst makeover. So stay tuned for those next 2 episodes, next 2 live streams. All right, with that, have a good rest of your week. Do something cool. We'll see you later.